people sort their mail in 3 piles. And if you can kind of get this, it's really going to help you a lot. They have, classic marketers call this like the A pile, the B pile, and the C pile. And your goal is to be in the A pile. Now, the first thing that they look for is the C pile mail. And what do you think that is?
Trash.
Yeah, that's the trash. I mean, these are the circulars that they get. These are things that are of no interest to them. It's catalogs they don't want. It's magazines that they don't even read anymore. They just chunk them, And most people, especially those who are a little more determined, they don't even want that to enter the house. So before they even get back, they're just putting it in the trash can right outside. I mean, you guys all do that?
I do.
Yeah.
I buy those trash cans and deposit 2/3 of it.
Yeah. I mean, you get this stuff. And I do it too. And I live in an apartment building, so I have to go down to check my mail. Well, I like to fill up that apartment building trash can because I don't want it to come back up to my apartment. I don't have room for it. Then I have to take it to the trash. I just put it out there before I even get inside the house. So C pile mail. Now there's a room for C pile mail. Some stuff that you're going to send sometimes will be in the C pile. And that's when you're writing like you're doing evangelism stuff. Sometimes it's in the C pile. You send a big postcard about your upcoming service. The great thing about a postcard is they don't have to really open it to read it. They can just at least glance at it. And we've all done big mailings like that, where you mail to 50,000 people and half of them or 90% of them chuck it in the trash. But at least they don't have to open it, But then there's the stuff that comes in the big envelopes that gets trashed anyway. A lot of us, you have already won, and you just trash that or whatever. So C pile mail is important. Then there's B pile mail, which is they're not going to read it now, but they think they'll get around to it. How many of you have like stacks of B pile mail randomly placed around your house?
Mm-hmm.
I do that too. And on my bookshelf, I put B pile mail sometimes. And sometimes I get to it. Sometimes it's stuff I'm sort of interested in, like maybe computer magazines I want to look at, or somebody trying to sell me some kind of personal growth resource, and I say, well, let me just think about that for a little bit. But most of the time, by the time I get to the B pile, about half of it's C pile. And so it gets chunked out too. But B pile's not bad, and a lot of your standard letters get into B pile. This is usually where the window envelopes go. If they're not a bill, if there's some kind of magazine subscription or whatever. Sometimes just letters you're sending out about your stewardship campaigns or your building campaigns. Sometimes that gets put in the B pile mail, and that's okay. If you can do it. I mean, sometimes the B pile is not bad. Sometimes people just don't have the time to sit down and really look through something with it. But what your goal is to get in the A pile. Now, what do people open first? I mean, this is again just by review, but what do people open first? They open personal mail. One thing they open first is they open a real letter. This is a regular sized letter in a number 10 envelope, with the return address that they recognize and a first class stamp. Now, this is not quite ideal, but this is from Marty Martin, who's he's an advanced coaching alumni. And this is a first-time giver letter. Apparently, I made a donation to Marty's church, and so he sent it to me. And there's several things I like about it. One is I recognize immediately what it's from. It's North Star Church. Then he hand addressed the front here, so that makes me want to open it because it's hand addressed. And I'm trying to think, would I have opened it if it had been a label? I probably would have, because I recognize the church. But especially since it was hand addressed, I thought, well, I wonder what they're sending me. So urgent, they had to write it out by hand. Because that's what you think, right? It's so urgent, they had to write it out by hand. And it's got a first class stamp on it. Then when I open it, one thing he did, it had to tape down the envelope. That was kind of strange, I thought. Maybe get a new envelope supplier for next time. But then inside, I got just a standard form letter. He didn't customize it, but it said, "Hey, thanks for the $500,000 you gave to our church, and it's people like you that count." And this looks very familiar because I think it's a letter that I wrote on the stewardship seminar. But it's a nice touch, and I can't really tell. It looks like he actually signed it, or somebody signed it in his name. But still, that's a nice touch. It made it into the A pile. And I tell you who won up to. Now these folks right here. Now look at that. Okay, it's hand addressed. It's an odd size. It's that kind of personal size. So I'm thinking. At first, I thought it was actually addressed to my wife, because she gets a lot of stuff to Mrs. Nelson Searcy because her family is more formal than my family. But I see it's Mr. Nelson Searcy on the front. It's got a first class stamp. It doesn't have a return address here, but a lot of my friends, if they were writing me a handwritten note, probably wouldn't have that. But it does have the pre-printed thing on the back of it. But it just made me curious enough. And I actually thought this was going to be from a church. Do you guys know who this is from? This is actually from Metropolitan Ministries here in Tampa. Apparently I'd made a donation to them somewhere along the way. And they must have had some volunteers, write that out. Because I looked, it's real handwriting. Even though inside, he does have kind of a fake script-looking thing, like this fake handwriting or whatever. So I was like, oh, is that fake? No, that was actually real on the front. But it got me to open it. And, then they've done even something better. I love this right here. This is the envelope for me to send my money in. Look at what they've already put on it. They got the stamps on it. This is called the law of reciprocation. They've already invested in me. This is why you get those little address stickers, or the things. They've already invested in me, so now I kind of hate to throw that away. Now I'll just kind of put your name on it and send in my power bill or something with it, But they've already kind of invested in me. It makes me kind of want to send it in. And so that's kind of an interesting thing. It's really a nice piece, even though it's clearly direct mail. But it got me really to open it. And it got me excited. So the bottom line is, on that theory, just think about that. Whatever piece you send, ask yourself, is this something that's going to go in the C pile? They're not even going to read it at all. If so, why would you send it? Just don't send it. And then if it is B pile mail, what could you do to kind of heighten the awareness of it? Like a lot of times your giving statements are B pile mail. But, is there something you could put on the front of the envelope to, when they go back, they still want to open it? We're putting on our second quarter giving statements this time. A record of your spiritual growth is enclosed, or words to that effect. I would still want to open that, even though it's a month old or something like that. Or if it's a giving campaign, say you're mailing out a big oversized, envelope for your giving campaign, and it's going to be so big, it's going to be folded like that when they get it, and it's going to go in the B pile mail. What could you put on the front of that envelope that would make them get it out of the B pile, or at least read it first? Maybe you could put the Sunday that you want them to bring. Please read by Sunday, May 15th or whatever, so that when they do go back to the B pile mail a little bit later, they have it. And then, of course, your goal is to make sure you get as much as possible in the A pile. One thing people are doing that I'm not sure that we've talked about is they're sending once a quarter. They're sending out their giving statements like this. They're handwriting their giving statements and they're using a first class stamp. Even if you don't handwrite them, once a quarter, I would encourage you to send your giving statements out using first class mail. For what purpose?
A pile.
Well, you get the A pile, but what else? You get the return back to you if they've moved. So do that like second or third quarter. That way your database is updated before you do your final mailing of the year. So there's a lot of reasons to do that. But clearly, sitting down and writing these things is a big deal. When you're doing your first-time guest follow-up, you clearly want to get into the A pile mail with that. I'll tell you one little trick that our worship guy did. We have auditions, as most of you know, for our worship teams. And so when they audition for the worship team, he asked them all these questions about their experience and all that. But he threw in a couple of random questions. And one of them was, what's your favorite drink at Starbucks? What's your favorite ice cream at Stone Cold? No, not Stone Cold. That's the wrestler. What's it called? Cold Stone. Yeah, that's right. Stone Cold. Shows you where my mind is. The Cold Stone. And so that's just kind of in there with all these 50 different questions, Well, then, once they got accepted to the team, he would periodically pull the names of people on his team and write them a handwritten thank you note with either a Starbucks card or a Cold Stone card. And he would say, enjoy your double latte, no fat soy, whatever, drink at Starbucks. Now, they've forgotten that they wrote that, 3 months ago on their application. But how cool is that? Not only do you get the letter and you get the card, but now you get this customized thing, or enjoy your mocha chocolate chip. Apparently this person really likes mocha. Your mocha chocolate chip, whatever, at Cold Stone, and there's the Cold Stone card. So the only thing I don't know where it fits in the ABC pile is bulky mail, like lumpy mail. This is when you get an envelope that clearly has a pre-printed name on the front. It's clearly got some kind of third-class postage, but when you start feeling it, there's something in there, like this pencil or this pen. And I think most of us still give into that, right? We know they did like 1 million of those, but you got to get that thing out of there.
Right.
So you got to at least rescue the pen. So that's another thing to think about when you do your quarterly giving. Even though it may be B pile, if you can make it bulky or lumpy, then that'll help you too. So I just wanted you to know the kind of the philosophy behind the A pile, B pile, B pile.